All right, so we're going to end. The last movie we're going to talk about is The Electrical Life of Louis Wain, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, who apparently is going to be in 3 big movies this fall. And this is the one I saw. I know you saw the other one. But Benedict Cumberbatch, it's a biopic. It's a real life story. Louis Wain, who made his claim to fame, is he's a famous cat illustrator from the 1800s. And this is his story. And we talked a little bit with the rescue that, it's hard for a lot of these movies not to fall into tropes, especially biopics. And that this is the conundrum. It's like when you watch The Electrical Life of Louis Wain, you've seen this story before.
Wait, can I guess? Does Benedict Cumberbatch play a sort of aloof, autistic, yet lovable guy?
Yeah, kind of a nebbish nerd that I don't know
all Benedict Cumberbatch characters.
Yeah, he's got that down pat. This is his style of character.
Yeah,
I mean it's basically he's the only male of his family. His sisters have not been able to get married, so it's on him to earn a living to earn all the money for the family. And this is a fairly aristocratic family in England. And so it's up to him to kind of keep them in that lifestyle. And so he's an illustrator. His job is to do news illustrations. So he'll go to boxing matches, draw it, and he's very fast. But his true love is drawing animals. And so having the pressure to need to provide for his family, he takes a job as a news illustrator, and he has younger sisters growing up, and so he has to hire a governess to teach them and to take care of them, and so that's why he has to get that job to pay for the governess, of which the character falls in love, and the governess, they get married. She discovers some really dark images and realizes that Louis Wain has severe PTSD issues. He almost died in an accident that actually I believe killed his father or his parents, and so he's got that to deal with. He gets married. They adopt a cat, which is unheard of at this time, and so he begins drawing all these fanciful pictures of that cat, illustrations, and he sets off this revolution in which cats now become domesticated, and it's all on this guy, and of course she dies, and then there's this his life just spins out of control at that point, and this is kind of where the tropes start happening. Is it gets very he kind of goes down that road of insanity, a beautiful life type thing. And so again, I enjoyed it. And I think there are 2 things, Benedict Cumberbatch, that's clearly the winner here, but I do like, the cinematography in this movie is incredible because, every scene and every frame is like a work of art. It's the colors vary depending on the mood of that time. The compositions, the angles of the camera, the lighting. Oh my gosh, the lighting, the outdoor lighting, the natural lighting, whatever. It's just a beautiful film to watch. It is almost 2 hours long, and it does go down very familiar roads, and I think that's what it has going against it. And that's the question I always have with biopics is it's weird, but it seems like everyone who grew up in a certain time period all have the same story. And I think Aretha Franklin, I loved Respect, but we're very familiar with the events that happened in Aretha's life because we had seen it in other movies, and I think you could say the same thing with this one.
Interesting. So, do you think the film works in a compelling way, like just narratively?
It does. It does. It's it's like if I were to take all the biopics in the world and stack them together, it's probably in that really good, moving up to the above average range. But you've got to really like the subject matter. I think if you're a Benedict Cumberbatch fan, or if you're a fan of cats, this is the movie you want to see.
I'm allergic to cats, but not to Benedict Cumberbatch. Quite the opposite. I'm one of those super fans that I just see everything he makes. So
I would more liken it to the Imitation Game, that character, than this one. For this one, now we're just real quick, but you saw the other Benedict Cumberbatch movie.
That's right. He was also in The Power of the Dog, which is Jane Campion returning to feature films, and he plays a cowboy in this movie. Mm-hmm. So, but a really
it's kind of a foppish British cowboy.
No. he's a real rough American cowboy. So, it's a kind of a departure from him. He still plays the kind of asshole that everybody hopes. He kind of also likes to play an asshole that maybe becomes a lovable asshole. And this one, not so lovable.
For one,
yeah. So, but it's a fascinating movie because just the very short synopsis. He's one of two brothers who are ranchers. They come upon a sort of inn, and he's horribly mean to the woman who's running the inn and the restaurant. And he really makes fun of her son. But it turns out the other brother, who's played by Jesse Plemons, falls in love with the woman, and they get married. And so now the woman and the son have to move in with the brothers. And so, eventually he sort of takes a turn, and he's making fun of the kid because he's he thinks he's too effeminate, and he's this manly macho cowboy guy, but eventually he starts to take him under his wing. That sounds like where this is going, but I'll just stop there and say you don't know where it's going. Mm-hmm. And this is sort of an exploration of toxic masculinity and and characters who don't have a lot of options in the West. So whether that's women or gay men or other kinds of things, there's these kinds of things get explored when your life is sort of out, removed from everyone, and you don't have a peer or social group, and things are sort of dictated to be a certain way. What happens to you in those situations?
Yeah. All right. So if you're a Benedict Cumberbatch fan, you've got Kitty Cat Benedict Cumberbatch, you got Cowboy Benedict Cumberbatch, and then we've got Doctor Strange coming. So the guy knows how to pace his movies out.
Yeah. I will say about this Benedict Cumberbatch performance is it's different than the others, but I mean we're really hitting the upper end of his range. I've seen a lot of cowboy movies. I don't fully believe him as a cowboy, but he's still. So I never kind of stopped believing it was Benedict Cumberbatch, but he's still very interesting to watch. He's certainly, magnetic on screen where you're paying attention to everything he's doing, and he really commands the screen. Mm-hmm. It's just that maybe it's just that I know him from too much British stuff. I never quite bought into him as an American cowboy.
Well, this one sounds more like he's Khan from Star Trek.
That's right, which I also did not like. But actually, this one, the Power of the Dog, I did like. I thought it was a movie that actually, when it ended at first, I was just like, I don't know about that. And then I just could not get it out of my head. And I discussed it with a friend in Toronto. And boy, we just had completely different perspectives on the movie. But by discussing it, it's one of those things you could sit and talk for hours about the movie because it's so intellectual and there's just so much to talk about. It tells a compelling story, but it's also got big ideas in it, and so it really grew on me. It became one of my favorite movies at a soccer festival.
Yeah, and I would say with Louis Wain, it's just the character he created that's the fun of watching it, and then the cats as well. But again, it's these stories. You hate to say I've heard the story again, but again, it's someone's real life. So what are you gonna do? And so. Check out.
They say the internet was created for cat pictures, so maybe this is finally time we got the origin of.
Yeah. It makes reference to that right at the beginning of the movie. I mean, this guy. The reason we love cats is this guy, and I will say, there's even the fame he got from drawing pictures of cats has a tragic ending to it as well, and so this guy can't catch a break.